There's a pretty one, Ulysses. There it is.
I would like to welcome to my channel. It's not quite her first appearance on my channel because we have filmed a bite-sized book chat, but this is a longer chat, just kind of shooting the shit, as we say in our cultured way in Western Canada, about all things bookish. Roz from the channel A Journey Through Books. Roz is from the Eastern Cape. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Eastern Cape in South Africa. And she's been away from BookTube for too long. So I have coaxed her to come on my channel and catch us all up on all her bookish life and whatever else she'd like to share with us. Roz, hello.
Hi, Shawn.
What a delight to have you on my channel.
It's a delight to be here.
What time is it there? It's 6 p.m. here, approximately.
Almost 11 a.m. here.
So, good morning to you. Why did you leave us?
COVID. COVID made teaching insane. We were teaching online, we were teaching in person, and it became too much to try and juggle. And having to do BookTube felt a lot like having to do a homework book report. And I didn't have the energy. And once I was finished with the computer for the day, I didn't feel like sitting editing videos. I wanted to go and relax. So that's what I was doing.
And you were already a very busy person. And what I've always felt about your channel is you didn't put out that many videos, or particularly consistently. Maybe there were times when you put them out more regularly. I don't remember now. But boy, it was always worth the wait. You just give a very meaty, substantive video whenever you have time for it. So I hope that you'll come up with another one. In the meantime, I'm going to put all your meaty literary substantiveness on my channel. So what have you been reading recently?
Sure. I have, at the moment, I am just 50 pages short of the end of We Were the Mulvaneys by Joyce Carol Oates.
Okay, that's supposed to be one of her best.
Yes. I'm at the point, it's actually why I stopped reading this morning, besides the fact that I had to dash out, is because I know the cat's going to die. So I didn't want to come onto your channel looking like I had just attended a funeral. So, that book has really struck some nerves. It's dealing with sensitive topics. Other than that, I have read HHhH by, I don't do French, so it's Laurent, Binet. It's World War II. It's about Heinrich, and sure, the graphic content in that is so moving. It's going to be a book that haunts me for a while. I know a lot of people haven't appreciated You Bailed. I remember seeing but that book was haunting, actually. And what I really enjoyed with it is that you had Binet's own personal feedback coming into it. So it's got a devastating ending. It's history. You can't change it. And how he said, I hate having to write that line because, one of the heroes had died. And that was quite moving.
I think I bailed, and it was quite a few years ago. It doesn't matter when, but it was, 2017. It was just around the time I came on to BookTube. And I didn't know anything about the true life history behind it. And I kept getting pulled out of it because I'd want to go check, did this really happen or that? And then it couldn't really enter the fictional narrative. So I always kind of had it in the back of my mind that I would bone up on the history and then try the novel again, where that wasn't distracting me.
Yeah.
But I just really enjoyed it.
Whatever. I did enjoy it. As much as you can enjoy the horrors of world. Yeah.
Have you read his more recent novel, The Seventh Function of Language? From 2018. I remember Steve Donahue quite liked it. I think I'm remembering that correctly. I certainly heard about it. He talked about it. It sounded way too intellectual for me, so you'd probably love it, Roz.
It sounds interesting. Just from the title alone.
It's about the literary critic Roland Barthes, the one who died in the motorcycle accident, I think, or struck by a laundry van in 1980, and he's a fictional character in this.
Okay.
So there you go.
So he likes to use historical fiction.
He does, and I see James Baldwin here.
That one I've just finished, and that was, okay, look, I'm an atheist. If they had removed the religion from that book, I probably would have loved it a lot more.
Okay.
But that is what the book is about. It's the growth of John Grimes and how he is going to be won over for God. Okay, well, it's his spiritual journey, but it's a very short spiritual journey. You just have this moment. I think it's really a day in real life, but you have all the flashbacks again to the family, and you see what his father was really like, because his father is a priest in the church, and what a hypocritical, horrid man that man is. Very unspiritual. And it's also one of those books that touch a lot of raw nerves, because you want to climb in there and clap someone. That's South African for give them a good smack.
I have it sitting on my shelf unread. I've read a few other Baldwins and really love them. So it's interesting that the preacher father was a terrible guy, but
yes,
you still didn't enjoy the novel. Like, if I'm reading something that exposes the hypocrisy of religion, I don't have that reaction that I would if I felt it was a churchy work of fiction, but one that is actually kind of exposing the hypocrisy. I might like it.
but you see, the kid still ends up there.
Okay. But does he, and is, maybe this is a question that's going to go into spoiler territory, but does the son, does he turn into a hypocrite, or is he something that's a little bit more?
You never get there. It has a very ambiguous ending. It just ends on the day that he has his, I wouldn't say rapture, his moment. So there is no challenge, etc. You understand from seeing what father has gone through that it's not going to be an easy road. That there are going to be many challenges along the way. So you can't even go while the kid's being saved.
Interesting.
Yeah, so, and I mean, Dad wasn't ever really exposed for what he had done. The little bit of exposure was done privately. So, yeah, I really wanted to respond with that book.
Very interesting. I'm going to change the subject just a little bit. There's 2 South African novels on the Booker long list.
Yes, I have heard of that.
I have already read and loved The Promise by Damon Galgut. Have you read that?
I have read none of them. I have heard of the fact that they are there, but I haven't even seen them in my bookshop.
No. The other one I don't know anything about, An Island by Karen Jennings.
Nope.
Have you heard
Never
of her?
heard of them. Never heard of either of them. Never heard of these books, other than having heard that they are on the long list.
The early reviews of the Karen Jennings novel on Goodreads are quite high, like they're averaging 4 stars, some 5-star.
Yeah.
So what's happening in South African lit that you can tell us about or recommend? Doesn't have to be new stuff, could be older stuff, but I know you sometimes read literature from your own country.
Oh, good Lord, Shawn, this is a hard question. But there are some books that I have found. I know you are not a genre reader, but I have read some Sally Andrew, who does crime, South African crime, and that is actually fantastic, because she captures the feeling in South Africa, especially with the positive side. So you've got the food and you've got the expressions, because everybody in this country is bilingual at least, and we don't speak a Savertaal, a pure language. We gooi things together, which means we throw things in there from other languages. And that's how Sally Andrews reads. I think if I were away from home, I would definitely take some Sally Andrews with me, because it would feel like home.
Interesting. I've never heard of her, and I'm glad that you're talking about books that I don't typically talk about on my channel, because that adds variety as the spice of life. If somebody wanted to try one, what do you recommend?
I would recommend the very first one, Recipes for Love and Murder. And at the back of the book, you get some recipes. The second one, Satanic Mechanic, is not the best one. It's Tannie Maria, which means Auntie Maria. But at the back of that one, she has a recipe for a homemade Van der Ham, and my mother made it. And can I tell you something? It is
I don't know
worth
what
buying the book for that recipe.
Wonderful. I don't know what that dish is. What kind of recipe?
It's a drink. It's a liqueur.
Oh,
It's a brandy liqueur done with citrus. I don't know what nachis are in normal English, but it's a nachi-based liqueur, and it's citrusy and sweet, and it goes down on a cold day like a tummy hug.
fabulous. I wish that I could have one right now and taste it.
I'd love you to.
Now, these they're mystery novels. Is it a series like with the same detective or whatever through them all? Yeah. I'm looking at your Goodreads right now. You're also reading Edgar Allan Poe.
Yes. So once upon a time, our dearly beloved Steve Donahue held up the most gorgeous copy of the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. It had the Raven on the cover. It's a hardcover book. And I saw that and I went, that's the book I want. Because it's stunning.
It's the one that's pictured in your Goodreads, like you've aligned it with the particular edition in Goodreads.
I think I should have, yes.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous cover. Yep.
Yeah, so I've been reading that slowly but surely, but I burnt myself out a little bit on Edgar Allan Poe because there's only so many horror stories that you can read one straight after another. So I've put it down for a while. I'll pick it up again. I think what I should do is maybe read one a month instead of trying to read the whole book in one go.
It's only 1,000 pages. Oh my God. Now, I didn't get a nice edition like this, but I remember about 25 years ago, my sister gave me, it was one that was remaindered or whatever. Like, I know she probably spent $10 on it, but it was, the same, probably the same contents. And I remember she wrote in the message, you probably will never read this, but you can use it as if your sofa's a little wobbly or something, you can use it to prop up your furniture or something. So I don't know if I still have it. I didn't read it, but One of Us is Lying by Karen McManus.
That one's a YA, and I read YA occasionally because I'm a teacher so that I can recommend books to kids. I burnt myself out for a while on YA. If you give me another bloody love triangle, I will probably pull my hair out. But this one actually, it's an interesting story. I was at my favorite bookshop. And I worked there one Christmas where they need extra staff. I'm friendly with the ladies there. I mean, hell, they've even come and had supper at my house. That's how much I love my booksellers. They're my dealers.
It looks like one whole part of their stock is on the shelves behind you. So, of course, they love you.
I'm sure they do. That possibly has a good reason for it. But the manageress and I were having a chat, and one of the customers overheard. And so she came and brought 2 books and said, which one should I get for my daughter? And this was one of them. And I'm not interested in YA fantasy at the moment because I'm burnt out with love triangles. But this one, I read the back then and I thought, well, this sounds interesting. And I'm not used to having people. Okay, BookTube's the exception because you guys are very well read and you read the latest stuff. But when it comes to people in my circles, I'm not used to having somebody talk about a book that I've not read. So I then decided I was going to read it. So that's what I'm doing.
And so far, it's all right?
So far, it's okay. It's interesting in the sense that you've got multiple narrators. There's a kid who died in detention, and these 4 kids were there. So one of them has to be lying because somebody must have done something. That's the premise. So yeah.
Relatable for you as a teacher, probably.
Well, the fact that they haven't put the teacher up there as the possible suspect says that they're naive.
Now, the most recent book you put on your want to read thing is a book that I recently read, The Mark on the Wall, another short fiction by Virginia Woolf.
Yes. I'm enjoying Virginia Woolf. Well, I've enjoyed all the Virginia Woolf that I've read. So what did you think of it? Should I pick it up?
Yes, I did enjoy it in a 4-star way, and not every story as usual. Well, not every story worked for me, but I was moved to try it because I read The Mark on the Wall last year, and it's one of the best short stories I've ever read. So the title story, and then it's funny, like most of Virginia Woolf's stuff, I have to be in the right space for Virginia. So when I reread it, when I did the whole collection a couple months ago, I didn't connect with The Mark on the Wall. So I thought, okay, I'm just got out of the wrong side of the bed this morning or whatever, because it had such a profound impact on me when I read it last year. So I will read it again and be in a different space. But no, I definitely enjoyed. There's a few of the stories that are only half a page long or 2 pages long, and those ones just kind of went I didn't get anything out of them, but yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there.
Okay.
What's your favorite Virginia Woolf?
It would have to be A Room of One's Own. I think I really appreciated the message of that, the speculation of Shakespeare's sister. Yeah.
Never read that one. That's interesting. My favorite is probably Mrs. Dalloway, but To the Lighthouse, close second.
To the Lighthouse I read too long ago. It was actually one of those books that I thought I hadn't read, and then I picked it up and I went, actually, you know what, this is ringing a bell, but I've got no idea what happened. You know what it's like when you're at university and you're reading like
yes, I do. And when it comes to the Lighthouse, nothing really did happen, so it's not a particularly plot-driven novel.
Maybe that's why I can't remember what happened.
I think so. I see an Allie Smith here from earlier this year. There, but for the.
Oh, that one. I really enjoyed that one too. That one just, that one. I mean, even that randomly weird title, it's the first word of the 4 stories that are in the book. They are stories that are connected to one another. And the premise of the story, well, the beginning of what is happening is some people were having a dinner party, and one of their guests brought a friend with him to attend this dinner party. And then this guy just didn't leave. He locked himself in a room in the house. So you have that, you have the interval. They try and get hold of a woman that this guy knew to try and talk him out the house. So you have her story and the backstory. You meet one of the young girls, and actually that was the last story in the collection, where you realize just how this really, really intelligent child is being traumatized at school by her teacher because he doesn't like the fact that she is clever. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with him. I love clever kids. It saves me a lot of work, but he obviously felt threatened or whatever by her mind and her curiosity. And she doesn't even say it outright, but you have just enough of a clue to know what's going on, I loved it. I really enjoyed it.
I have not read that one. Is it connected short stories or novel?
Yeah, it's a novel, but it's like 4 separate stories that make the novel because it's all working on the same part. Yeah.
Got it. Not everyone agrees with you. It's got a fairly low rating, 3.4.
Yeah.
Have you read her seasonal quartet?
I've read the first 3. I have Summer over here.
I think you and I are pretty much the same, although, no, I think I stopped after the second one. I loved autumn and I really liked winter, and I have spring and summer unread. I decided that I'm going to put it aside and wait a decade because it was too close to the events. And everybody was talking about it on BookTube, and I just don't do well when I'm participating, and can I form my own opinion? I thought, okay, put it in a box, put it in the archives for a decade, and then give it another shot. So,
well, I'm going to still plow ahead, but then that's because I have been so bad at following BookTube at the moment. So
there you go. That's the other solution.
I've got my own opinions, so that's great.
Good for you. Yeah. And here is a Colm Tóibín novel that I've never read, The Blackwater Lightship.
Yes, I also, you're hitting on all the books that I've enjoyed this year, which is great. Yeah, I enjoyed that one as well. The protagonist in the story is a headmistress of a school. It's set when the AIDS pandemic had just really begun. Her brother is homosexual and he has contracted AIDS. I really actually appreciated it. He does a fantastic thing in how, even though it's a first-person narrative, you get to be in the position where you can judge her and realize that she's making mistakes. Usually when I'm reading a first-person narrative, I identify and I agree with the narrator because, I'm feeling betrayed or I'm feeling badly done by, and you go, oh, yes. But with this one, he actually managed to break that wall where I could look at it from a distance. And this was his intent, where you could go, you know what, you're actually really overreacting. You're being horrible here. You need to stop. So I really appreciated that.
Have you read others by him?
No, but I would like to.
Okay, well, the one of his that I just read maybe a year or 2 ago was excellent, and it is called Brooklyn.
Oh yes, that's on my. I saw that they made a movie of that, didn't they?
I think they
I haven't
did,
watched
and
the
I
movie.
did it on audio, and it was excellent on audio.
Okay, I haven't watched the movie. I don't get around to watching movies, but I saw it, the trailer, and that caught my interest already.
And I think he's got a new one out just very recently, maybe, or has it even come out yet? But this year,
There's one that's due this year.
Okay.
I heard Sam Sachs and Steve chatting.
Oh, did you? Oh, there it is. The Magician, according to Goodreads, published September 7th. And A Short History of Tractors in Ukrainian is sitting on my shelf unread. Should I read it, Roz?
I don't know. Okay, first of all, that has to win the prize for the worst title ever. Because
but it's so bad that it's good. I kind of like it, but I know what you mean. It's kind of...
Yes. I'm trying my darndest to read all the books that have been nominated for the Women's Prize, be it when it was called the Orange or the Baileys or whatever. That was why I got that book, because if I had just seen that book, I would have walked right past it and thought it was some horribly dull university textbook on tracksters. It's not a terrible title. I know a lot of people refer to it as funny, but I don't find a dysfunctional family to that extent funny in the slightest. I don't find humor in discord. I find humor in things that are funny, play on words, give me, a humorous occurrence that I would find funny. I don't find sisters who are fighting it out with dad who's being used by a younger woman, because the story starts, I'm just giving you the beginning, with their old father marrying a young, I want to use another South African word, poppy. A pop is a doll, so that probably puts it into perspective. So you've got this young woman from the Ukraine, because they live in England, who's now wanting to marry dad. You know that she's marrying dad not for any love or anything of the sort, but because she wants to live in England. And dad agrees to do this. And his daughters are horrified, as one could imagine, especially because mom only passed away, I think it was 2 years before that. So you have the story of this, and it's a story basically of a lot of poo hitting a fan, and it's a high power fan. So I didn't really find it all that funny.
That image is pretty funny, so thank you.
Yeah, you see, that's humor, okay? But the one thing in the story that did work is how life is seen differently from the perspective of the two daughters, because the one was born before World War II and the other one was born post World War II, and how that upbringing, their childhoods, have changed their perspective on life. And that part was interesting. But other than that, look, I finished it. I kept wanting to pick it up. There are books out there that I start reading and I find it torture having to pick it up again, whereas that one wasn't. But it wasn't fabulous.
I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but I've read one book by him, the Libyan writer Hisham Matar, In the Country of Men.
Oh, yes.
You loved it. Oh, I did. It. You loved it better than me. That's the one I've read. So why did you love it?
Oh, good Lord. Okay, memory. Well, that was the one where it's a child narrator, isn't
That's
it?
right.
But it's not. It's like the To Kill a Mockingbird child narrator, where you use the adult can read a hell of a lot between the lines. That's if I'm remembering this correctly. Am I remembering this correctly?
You've nailed the problem that I had with it, was that I just didn't think the child narrator could have understand all the significance of what he was narrating.
I don't think the child was meant to. It's like in To Kill a Mockingbird, where you have Scout who's telling the story, but she doesn't really understand the significance of everything she's saying. But as the adult, as you as the adult reading it, can work it out. And the child in this, like, he doesn't understand the mother's relationship with the father, how she was forced to marry his father because she had done something shameful. She had coffee with another boy. So that was shameful. And so she was forced to get married to this man who was older than her. And the son would never have understood that. He didn't understand what was going on in the country with, I think it was Gaddafi.
That's right.
He wouldn't have understood that, how he betrays the neighbor by giving over a book, and actually his father as well, because he didn't understand, he was being manipulated and used. Sure, my memories on this, sure.
No,
You can tell I'm struggling.
No, I'm really going back into your archives here. I'm now looking at March of this year. So yeah, I'd be hard pressed to describe stuff that I've read that they're going that far back.
70 books ago.
Have you read any crap recently? How's that for a question?
Sure. Surprising enough, I want to say no, but that might not be true. Give me a second here, because now I'm going to.
Great.
Okay. I'm sure I've read crap. I usually do pick up crap somehow or another, although I try and avoid it. But as I said, I've been trying to read the women's list for, well, all of them. And as a result, I have actually not been coming across a lot of crap. Okay, so there are some crappy ones here. I didn't enjoy, oddly enough, I thought I would, P.G. Wodehouse. I was looking forward to, I've never read Jeeves. I was wanting to read a Jeeves, and I thought I had found one, but it wasn't. And the title is called Nothing Serious, and they could just keep it there because nothing serious happened. It was a waste of time. Okay, it's To Kill the President by Sam Bourne. That was wishful thinking. That was real crappy. I was wanting something light. I think that's one of the things with COVID reading, is that I'm wanting something that is intellectually stimulating, but at the same time not depressing. And I got that as a cheapie at one of my secondhand bookshops, thinking that maybe it would be an interesting thriller. And all I could see was American politics and a certain level of wishful thinking.
Roz, it's been an absolute delight to have you come on, and I hope this whets your appetite for you to come back on your own channel, even a couple times a year. I would settle for that.
I was planning on coming back, but then life happened. Yeah, I'd love to, and I'm sure this is going to whet my appetite, because it's quite nice once again sitting talking to. But it's nicer doing this actually, because I'm looking at someone instead of my camera's backside.
Well, life does happen. I'm glad this happened, and I hope BookTube happens to you on your own channel real soon.
Thank you. I'd love it to.